What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Onney, the CEO, and I'm back with another fire and inspirational segment, having conversations with a queen right here on Oustide the Box. Tonight's segment is going to motivate you, it's going to inspire you, and we're going to talk about how transforming your mindset can change the whole trajectory of your future. So I need you guys to buckle up your seatbelts because you're now plugged in, tuned in, tapped in to Oustide the Box. Thank you again for being on this journey with us as we peel layers back and have vulnerable conversations with queens that are coming to share their story. Tonight's guest has inspired so many. She's an inspiration to me. I've definitely done my research on her, and I believe that she's a queen worth getting to know. So I want you guys to give it up for Dr. Cherie.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for
I'm
coming.
so excited about being here. Thank you. I look forward to this day, and I can't wait to bless your audience.
Man, you a blessing already to me. You are gorgeous. Y'all give it up for that Black Don't Crack, okay?
Yeah, thank you, thank you. It's drinking water, drinking water.
Yes, you know what I'm saying? So I have had the opportunity to kind of do my research and find out who you are. But for our listeners and our watchers, can you tell us who you are, what you do, some of your accolades and businesses that you have thriving and going?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I am Dr. Cherie. I am a wife. I'm a mother. I'm also a sassy, aka a grandmother to my 11-month-old grandson. So I'm super excited about all of that. And yeah, I am just a serial entrepreneur, as many people will say. Like, I have my hands in a lot of things. By trade, I'm a oncologist scientist.
Mm-hmm.
I work within the research and development industry. That pays the insurance.
Okay.
But my husband and I, we co-own several businesses. We have an independent living home for patients that are just really not able to take care of themselves independently. So we kind of oversee their care. I have an assisted living home where we take full responsibility of clients. It's an alternative to a nursing home. Let's see, I have my hands in a lot of things. And I have a nonprofit organization in honor of my grandmother who died from multiple myeloma, which is a bone cancer in 2011. So I give out scholarships to young men and women who have a desire to focus on maybe some sort of science and or technology. So that has been in existence since 2015. So yeah, cool. Born and raised in Houston, Texas, Fifth Ward resident. But yeah, just trying to do everything that I can to positively impact the world and make my imprint.
Well, you are definitely doing it, and you're looking good while you're doing it.
Thank you.
Now, one of the questions I have for you, because you're a woman like myself, we have so many different hats that we wear.
Yes.
How do you balance business, entrepreneurship, being married, being a mother, being a grandmother? How do you manage all of that?
Listen, it is work. And I'm going to tell you the truth, because most people lie and say, oh, I do it this, that. Listen, it is work every day. It's just like exercise. In order to take care of our bodies, we have to actually put in the work. What does that mean? Essentially, that means taking time for you, taking time for yourself. So you have to find those days and moments where you peel back, you fall back, and just reset and really kind of tap into your mental, because it's an emotional and mental strain on your body. So I take a lot of time for me. I laugh a lot. I love hard. And, I really just focus and pray and, ask God to really get me through the day every single day. So it's work. It's a lot of work, but I do my best.
Now, being equally yoked is so important.
Yes.
and having a partner that you can flourish with, it kind of give you that extra superwoman cake to kind of chase your dream, because you know they got you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So tell us what that's been like, growing a business with a partner.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you the real and the raw, right?
Okay.
So it has been work for me, because I tell people all the time that it's two people, two whole, or maybe even some halves coming together. So what does that mean? People with various baggage, etc. So we had to get to the point to where we accepted each other where we are, and that's the good and the bad. And it really is work. I thank God every single day that I am able to bounce things off of my husband. Now, I'll say this. I didn't get married until later, like in my 40s. So what does that mean? That means I was a single mother. That means that I was an independent woman. So it took me a little longer than most probably to relinquish that control. But God knows exactly what you need, when you need it, and how to give it to you. So working with my husband has been, it's been some ups and downs, because I had to learn how to let go. And it was recently that I experienced some things that I was like, you know what? I thank God that I see the growth. So that's why I tell people all the time, you got to big up yourself, right? Know when you have achieved something, know when you've messed up, and acknowledge all of that. But my husband, he's nothing like me. We are totally different. He's the calm to my storm. I'm kind of vibrant, just rah-rah, and he's just the peace that I needed. So God knows that, and that's what working with him has been like.
That's what I say. Like my partner, I don't want him to be like me. Because if I wanted a clone, then I'll just date myself.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? So I like the individuality aspect of you be your own authentic person, I be my own authentic person. And then when we come together, it's like a power blossom, because we're both standing in our truth. We're both happy with where we are. And I don't feel like me being in my light is infringing upon your life.
Exactly. And he lets me be me. So, you also want to have that partner that, can see you where you are, and to your point, not fearful of your shine, not trying to, block it or any of that. So, it has been some work, but I thank God for it.
Now, speaking of starting businesses, you have multiple businesses, right? So what is so important, I think, that people need to know when starting a business, whether it's, they're providing a service or whether they have a product, still a business, knowing your audience is so important, knowing who you're trying to appeal to. So often people get caught up in their friends not supporting their business. But if you're passionate about whatever it is that you're going after, you have to understand that your vision is bigger than you, and it's bigger than your backyard. And the people that you actually that come to support your business or utilize your services may not look like you. They may not be familiar faces, and you have to be okay with that. By not taking it personal, like, oh, okay, like say for instance you have a senior living facility and I want to put one of my family members in the facility, but I don't use your facility knowing that you had one.
Exactly.
You shouldn't take that personal because I don't use your services. And so often in women, it's such a petty competition. They feel entitled to, oh, if I do taxes, then you need to get your taxes through me. If I'm a realtor, then you should be buying your house from me because I'm your friend. So have you had any experiences with that in your career?
I absolutely have. And, again, that's about growth, because to your point, everybody is not there. And I'll be very transparent with you. Initially, when you start a business, you want the support of your family and your friends. Oftentimes, the support does not come that close to you, right? It's not your family, it's not your friends. So I had to get to that level of growth in that, because I'm I'm that tax prepared, like, come do your taxes over here. But
I found out you didn't tell it.
No, I'm just saying. I don't do taxes. That's one thing I don't do. But no, I'm just saying, like, I have the home, and I wanted, a friend or family to put their loved one there. And when they didn't, I felt a little slighted by it. But then, I was like, you know what? Thank you, God, because sometimes that's God blocking. That's a fireball essentially, because again, you're too close. So it becomes too personal, and you can't see the immediate need, and you can't take care of the business because of maybe that loved one or that friend, because now they feel entitled.
I'm gonna say that it's a sense of entitlement. It's just like having a business and hiring friends to work for you.
Absolutely.
You know, they're on payroll, but they show up like they're doing you a favor.
That part, yes.
You know what I'm saying? And
yes.
then they mismanage. They don't communicate. They don't show up. They calling in at the last minute. Why? Because you're working with friends.
That's right.
You
So
know?
I appreciate it. So yes, I had to get to that growth. But again, I realized that probably was a bullet that I dodged. So I began to understand that, you know, sometimes the support, to your point, is not going to be family. It's not going to be friends. And I thank God for it, right? So however it comes, I'm open. I'm walking in a place now of God, I acknowledge everything. I understand. I understand the plan. Whatever your will is, let it be.
Yeah, I always ask God to protect my visions, you know, and blind any monitoring spirits that are coming to kill, steal, destroy, distract, and sabotage me from my goals.
That's right.
You know, and I put it in His inbox, and it's some people that show up, and it's some people that don't. And for the people that don't show up, thank you, God.
Thank you.
Because I don't know what them showing up might have been. I've had people reach out to me, even to do podcasting, even to book the studio, only to find out that they've went somewhere else and kind of had a fallout with them people, but didn't handle it in a professional way. I don't want them kind of problems.
That's right.
I don't want no ghetto stuff going on in my place of business.
That's
so
right.
sometimes you can be like, oh, okay, well, you know, thank you, God, for that. You know,
He blocked it.
Now, in business, some of us suffer with imposter syndrome. I have went through the imposter syndrome. I actually wrote a few notes here because some people don't really know what imposter syndrome is. Imposter syndrome is a feeling of being incompetent or unqualified even when there's evidence of the contrary. People with imposter syndrome may believe others are more skilled than they are, attribute their success to luck or others, worry about not belonging, feel like they need to do more than is asked of them, and be uncomfortable with praise, avoid reaching goals, fear of disappointing others. So what do you think are some key things that can help people with imposter syndrome?
So in my book, Pursuit of Purpose, 11 Keys to Rise Like a Phoenix and Soar, I speak often on tapping into yourself. So what does that mean? You have to learn how to, again, I said it earlier, peel back the layers and tap into you. So once you become aware of who you are, where you are, and what your purpose is, you no longer are defined by others' opinions and others' views of you, right? So with people that may be challenged with imposter syndrome, I always give it back to you. The accountability comes back to the person. You have to learn how to love who you are and where you are. And that's really what it boils down to, because at the end of the day, whether you do good or bad, people are going to have something to say. So,
I say what helped me with imposter syndrome was I kind of had to change my circle a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing about and the thing about it is our friends and our family sometimes can inadvertently project their fears onto us.
Facts.
Because they can only advise us from their level of perception.
Absolutely.
And what their experiences are.
Absolutely.
So if they're experiencing or holding on to lack, they're gonna project that on you. So my advice, what I had to do was to surround myself with more positive people, people that was more encouraging to the things that I wanted to build, instead of being like, girl, I don't know, you think that, I don't know, you gonna get a studio? How you gonna afford a whole studio?
Yeah.
Well, how you gonna do that? Instead of me doing that,
Yeah.
I'm around people that cultivate those ideas. Like, oh, girl, you should do this, and you could do this, and then you could put your art in your studio, and you do this, and so that kind of like having that positive circle.
Yeah.
And also being mindful of who you share your dreams with.
Absolutely.
You can't share big dreams with small-minded people when they say, think big.
I have so my slogan is, what you see, you can be.
Yeah.
And I have a t-shirt line that says that. So in other words, you got to see what you want to be. I have a conference that I host every year. It's the Love for Me. I bring people and again, I want to have you on there too, because I want people to see something that they've never seen before. What is that? A curator, a producer, live and full effect. I have several, Onney that does the uncensored conversations with a queen. Like, I want people to see that and say, you know what? You mean I can work a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever and still do?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want people to see. So what you see, you can be. And that essentially means changing your circle.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you have to aspire for something. So you have to see it and then tap in and go and try to be it.
Right. And that's so important. And, you know, speaking of collaboration versus competition.
That's right. I said that
And I
earlier.
tell people all the time, like, you know, if I'm walking in my light and my light irritates your demons, then that's the moment where you have to look at yourself.
Yeah.
You have to do some self-reflective moments, because I don't allow people to make me feel bad for going after my goals.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because people can sometimes project, oh, well, you never have time for me, or you never come to anything I invite you to. And that's kind of like, it's kind of heartbreaking when you're a go-getter and a goal setter.
Yeah.
And you have these goals, and like I have a time set of how long I'm gonna give this project to record. So in the meantime, while I'm recording this project, I can't go to the day parties. I can't go to the brunches. I can't go take trips with my girls because I'm working on something.
Yeah.
And I just thank God for having a peer group that understands that, because I have been in situations where people weren't understanding and kind of made me feel bad for not acquiescing to their need or validation from me when I'm trying to validate myself now.
Absolutely. You're trying to get it. You're trying to, you know, progress towards something. But yeah, you said it earlier, changing your circle. Listen, this thing, this,
and we outgrow our
journey,
girlfriends. We do outgrow our girlfriends.
I tell people all the time, I've had a girlfriend or friends for like 20 plus years, and they'll, you know, we'll see friends from our past, and they say, well, where's such and such? I'm like, I don't know, you know? And they were like, well, y'all were so close. I understand that. However, if you get to the place to where you're pouring more into something than receiving, then you got to reevaluate that thing. And I'm okay with that. Like, that is growth. And we have to really embrace it versus, you know, being fearful of growth. You say you want to go somewhere, you want to do some things, then do it.
And sometimes you can't take the people that you love with you, unfortunately.
No, you can't.
Because some of these paths that God wants to take us on is just for us.
That's right.
And sometimes by us not listening to that and still reaching back and saying, hey, but I just want to bring just this one person. And then we wonder why everything is going from sugar to you know what. And it's because we wanted to bring this one person with us, and they weren't.
It wasn't meant to be. This is your journey.
That wasn't their invitation.
That's right. This is your lesson.
Right.
Yeah. You got to walk this walk by
so
yourself.
Self-discovery. Self-discovery is a process of understanding your true self, your values, your needs and wants, even the food you like to eat and dislike, you know, because some people, they impose their diets on you now. And you might have naturally learned some of these things about yourself over time. So self-discovery, tell us a little bit about self-discovering oneself.
Listen, all of this is a journey, self-discovery. I tell people, like during my coaching program, I have conversations, and I tell them, write down 3 things that you may have always wanted to do, because you have to, again, it's all about you. It's not about anybody else. Oftentimes you can project onto someone or put blame on someone, but you got to go back and say, well, what is it that I like to do? More importantly, what is it that I don't like to do?
And what am I allowing to continue
that part
makes me uncomfortable?
That part. We have gotten to a place to where, and I say we meaning people, have gotten to a place to where we accept. Well, I'm gonna just go ahead. I said
go alone and get along.
Gone are the days. Like gone are the days are for me just to be doing it. So self-discovery takes time with yourself. You can't be a good helpmate to anybody if you don't know what you like. You need somebody else to define you. Right? So it takes time to realize the likes, the dislikes, the wants, and the things that you don't want.
And one thing I've learned, that if you don't have that self-discovery to really obtain that self-love that's required, you will continue to attract the same type of negative people in different body bags because you haven't even learned what you like.
That's right.
You haven't had the opportunity to love yourself enough to set up healthy boundaries.
That's right.
And you have to have healthy boundaries in friendships, in business relationships, whatever type of relationship, you still have to have healthy boundaries. And sometimes if you have not discovered yourself to be able to set those boundaries up for yourself, then you leave yourself open for people to come and
tell you who you should be,
you are, and project who they believe you to be based on their perception of what that is. And you will actually start to believe it, which could then sabotage whatever your goals and visions are for yourself.
You know who I find that fall into that place often are housewives, codependents, right? Or new moms or parents, like they don't know who they are after their kids leave the home, go off to college and things like that. Like they're trying to
they were so enmeshed with their kids.
Their life has been. That's why anyone that knows me say, well, Cherie has always done this. I bring the kids along, but I've always looked at life as something to live. That sounds cliche, but life is to be lived. That's with or without our kids, right? Because once the kids go, you have sons, the expectation is for them to go off and marry, right? So you need to know who you are once they leave. Women that, just run the household and are controlled, by their spouses, they get allowances, etc. What was to happen if there was a divorce? Right. You don't know who you are. What do you, I always, tell people, what do you like? What
and
do you
like
start
to believing that you can't do it without them.
That's right.
Which then further allows them prerequisites to just go and abuse you mentally, emotionally, even sometimes physically, because you're relinquishing your power to being codependent on someone else's validation for who you are. Whether it's a friendship, if you have a girlfriend and you get upset because she haven't called you in a week, check yourself. Check yourself. Because life is lifing for all of us.
Everybody.
And instead of getting upset about your friend not calling you, that is your cue to pick up the phone and call her.
Yes.
Because my love language is not talking on the phone.
Right.
So I'm not the friend.
Send a text or something.
I'm not the friend that's gonna call you every day. I'm not the friend that's gonna hang out with you every weekend. I'm not that friend. Yeah. If that makes me a bad friend, I'll take it. But I'm that friend that if you call and say, Onney, I need you, I'm pulling up. Drop your location. Now, if you say, Onney, I want you to come to brunch with me on Sunday, you use the word want. That gives me an option to say, hey, I got some priorities that supersede your want.
That's right.
But if you call me and say, Onney, I'm sick.
I need you. I
need you to come take me to the hospital. Or I have a flat. I need you to come and give me a ride. Now, I might call you Uber if I'm super busy, but shout out to Uber. But I'm gonna show up for you in whatever capacity I can at that time. Now, if the capacity that I show up for you in is not to your standard because you feel entitled for me to stop, drop, and roll like a firefighter, that is not my issue because life is life, and for me, I have my own emergencies. And then too, friends that borrow money.
My Lord.
That is another thing. When you're building something, you really have to learn that selfish is not always a bad thing. Because self-preservation is the cardinal rule to survival. Don't lend what you can't afford to give.
That's it.
And because that will cause a breakup in the relationship with your friends or even family, because sometimes because you're family, they'll borrow money from you and then go on vacation. Like, they don't owe you nothing. So you have to learn.
Sounds personal right here.
Yeah, you have to learn when to say no. And the thing about it was it took me a long time. I'm 44 now, but when I was in my 30s, I was 38 when I learned the importance of saying no. And I learned it the hard way. I had to say no because my back was against the wall. I was not doing as great as I thought I should have been. And I needed help, but I was too prideful to ask for help. But I was also in a position where I could not give it. And the people that I had been helping or enabling for so long, when I couldn't continue that, I became the bad guy. And what I learned in that moment is just like, I didn't have nobody to come and save me. I can't make your mismanagement of your finances my emergency.
Right. So again, I'm going to put my plug out there. Pursuit of Purpose, 11 Keys to Rise Like a Phoenix and Soar. I have a chapter in there called defining or inserting your no. Like, it's necessary.
And no is a complete sentence.
It's complete. You need to use it. So again, it may be a slash to some, but it's empowering to yourself. So it's necessary to say no with your kids. And again, this all comes as a result of setting boundaries.
And sometimes you don't know how a person really feel about you until you say no.
Exactly.
And I was hurt.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, I was a crybaby because I lost a lot of people that I thought was really rocking with me.
Yeah.
But they was in for the benefits. They was in for the red carpet treatment. They was in for the private
exposure is necessary too. It's coming.
And all of that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then when I didn't have that to give, or I couldn't feel that space for them because of whatever spaces I was in, and I got to see how people really feel about me, you know. And people be like, "Oh, she thinks she all that." No, baby, you think I'm all that, but I appreciate the compliment.
Thank you. Yes.
You know, and that's another thing. When you meet other like-minded queens or queens that are on their business, don't hate.
That's right.
Congratulate. If I inspire you, say that.
That part.
You know what I'm saying?
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
If you want to do what I'm doing, say that.
Yeah.
I'll come and show you how to do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to compete with me. We can eat together.
That part.
I'm collaboration over competition anyway.
Yeah.
And then speaking of collaboration over competition, you also have to know oneself. To have those healthy boundaries, to be able to have the discernment.
You read my book, didn't you?
Not yet, girl, but I'm gonna make sure I get it.
This is my book. All of these chapters.
To have the discernment to know who to collaborate with.
Yeah.
Because I have, as a business owner,
I
have multiple businesses as well. I have collaborated with people and I've had great experiences and I've had not so great experiences. But some people will come and see your train already moving and see where you're going, and they may recognize your light before you even recognize your light. So they'll come and attach themselves to you.
Yes.
So that they can go where God is trying to take you.
But that ain't their journey.
No.
That's not their walk. But so with that being said, it's gonna reveal itself, and it goes back to the discernment. You know what I mean? We have to again acknowledge where we are, what we are, and whose we are. Right. So with that being said, sometimes you see it. You know, we play ourselves often and be like, no, that person ain't like that, but yet they are. We do it a lot.
I've said that in one of our conversations with a queen. Like, your gut tells you immediately. You know, if you walk into a room, you know that you're invited, but you're not welcome. You know that the energy at this table just shifted the minute you sat down. You know it, but because we want to lead in love and want to give people the benefit of doubt, we go against that. You know,
but give it a moment. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it doesn't to reveal itself. So I'm a firm believer of acknowledging that. Acknowledging that spirit man is talking to you. Acknowledge it. It's going to tell you and reveal itself to you. Just walk in it and you'll see it.
Because your body do speak to you all the time. Now, let's talk about positions for purpose. That's one of your key things. Let's talk about it.
Yes. Well, you know, you've touched on many of the topics such as self-discovery, self-love, and really setting healthy boundaries. So all of those are very important to you achieving the purpose. In my book, I start off by saying that God has created all of us for a unique purpose. He created all of us, so each one of us are designed for something. So this is my 50th year. Some say the Jubilee year, so I'll be 50 years old this year.
50. Come on, 50.
I'll be 50, and saying that to say, like,
you're a good girl.
Thank you. I've just been on a self discovery journey myself, right? Like, I'm just tapping in and acknowledging, like, no, I don't want to do such and such. Yes, I do. So I do things with intentions, right? So with that being said, you have to, again, know who you are and what you are, and then that is going to drive your purpose. It's in you. Like I tell people, tap into it. Quit soaring on the bottom. Gone are the days of that.
So I'm 44, but I'm still reinventing, recreating, discovering new things about myself. So I'll share a little story with you, right? So back in 2020, my brother passed in 2019, and when he passed, I wasn't really able to mourn him, because I was trying to help my mom, and it was just a lot going on, right? So in order to mourn one day, something just said paint. So I went to Hobby Lobby, got a canvas, and I painted his program picture. It's not the best painting in the world, but that's where it started.
Yes.
And so not long after that, COVID hit, and I was in the middle of buying a home, and the programs that I was on, of course, they froze all those programs, and I had to just go like a buyer without a program, right? So now I was gonna need all this extra money to close. And at least that's what I thought, but God had another surprise for me. But I was gonna need all this extra money to close, and then all my shows got shut down.
Oh, wow.
The studio, because you couldn't have, COVID shut everything down. I couldn't go perform and do my spoken word. I couldn't do art gallery. I would go perform poetry in art galleries, not knowing that my art would eventually be in art galleries. But that's a whole other thing. So during that COVID time, I started doing paintings. Then I started doing resin. And I put it on my story. I was doing paintings just for me.
Yes.
And people were, how much is that? How much is that? So I painted a painting that I did not want to sell, and I listed the price for $500. Because that's what he told me. He said, how much? He slid into my DMs. It was on my story. He said, how much? I said, $500.
Yeah.
He said, what's your cash app? Send him my cash app. 30 seconds later, $500. I was like,
so you mean this is money?
God didn't turn around and use my gifts to make room for me. You see what I'm saying? And so here I am thinking I wasn't gonna be able to close my house. In 1 month, I sold $3,500 in artwork.
Wow.
And I had literally just started.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Your
So
gift.
and so I've been painting, now more. I do consignment and stuff like that. But I'm just saying that you are not too late. It's not too late to rediscover things. And sometimes you can start something. It's just like when I started doing my podcast, Oustide the Box, I never knew that me starting a podcast would essentially lead me on the journey of owning my own recording studio.
Wow.
It didn't start from there.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So when you trust the seed that God give you, the fruit that it could bear could be so unimaginably fruitful because you listened. You just followed that little inkling that say, do this, try that, think outside the box. And just because you've never done it before doesn't mean you can't do it.
That's right.
And just because you're of age, I had a girlfriend recently. She went back to school and she just graduated from Southern and she got a degree. We're in our 40s. She went back to school in her 40s and got another degree. It's not too late to recreate the trajectory of your future by changing your mindset and setting healthier goals for yourself.
What you see, you can be. So I tell people all the time, people always ask me, who are your models or who do you look up to? My mother. Like my mother went back and got her master's degree in her 50s, 60s, right? Like she got a bachelor's, then she got her master's. So those are the example, that's the example that I have. You know what I mean? Like some people make celebrities their, role models. I've never been that person.
Girl,
and I honestly, I almost felt bad, but kind of going back to your point, people make you feel bad. Like someone was asking, I had a coach, every coach needs a coach. So I had a coach and she was like, well, who do you look up to? Like my mama, you know what I mean? Like she took care of the household when my dad wasn't there. She, helped her sisters her sister who was incarcerated, raise her kids, raise all the kids in the family. So now my cousins are like my brothers and sisters. So I didn't have like a whole list of people. It was like my mama, my grandmother, and I was like, that's who I know. That's how I saw resilience in motion. Like that's what I know when I see a hardworking woman. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that I pull from them, like hard work, dedication, things of that sort.
31 kind of woman.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, the Word of God says, God will give you. He says, if you delight yourself in me, I'll give you the desires of your heart. So it goes back to you. What is it that you desire? Yes. What is it that you desire? And with that, God is going to give that. He's going to honor that, So, tap into you.
And speaking of God, one thing I've had to really do is compartmentalize all the different things I have and create a healthy routine for myself, but also include God in that routine.
Absolutely.
Now, this has nothing to do with religion, okay? But you definitely want to, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, whether it's fasting, whether it's sitting in silence so that you can hear His voice. Because sometimes we have to separate ourselves from the crowd.
Absolutely.
And even though the people that we look up to, that we love the most, that we want to use as a sounding board, they might not be the sounding board God wants us to have.
That's right.
Because sometimes when I was younger and I was codependent and seeking validation and people pleasing, I would go, Mama, what you think about this? Daddy, what you think about this? Girlfriend, what you think about this? Boyfriend, what you think about this? And then I have all these different opinions swirling around in my head. So now I'm just, God is not the author of confusion, number one.
Absolutely.
So now I'm confused. But
what am I hearing?
When I'm trying to sit and listen to God, I was so far from Him because He wasn't in my routine that I couldn't discern His voice from everybody else's.
That's right. That's right.
So having a regimen, a routine, not even religious or spiritual routine, but a routine period, whether it's
discipline,
health and wellness. If you want to work out every day, if you want to have a certain eat, if you want to break a certain habit, having a routine
absolutely
has really kind of helped me
yeah
be successful.
And I say, you know, again, I throw a lot of these, I guess, cliches out. Health is wealth. What does that mean? Health doesn't necessarily just mean working out. It's a mental health as well. It's emotional health. Spiritual health is what you're referring to, taking that time to sit back and just be quiet. What did I say earlier? It's about resetting. Resetting takes intentions to sit back and just be quiet and allow the voice that you need to hear to come through. But again, that goes back to self-discovery. You have to have that time with self to know that, oh, it's loud, and it ain't it's no music on.
Journaling
but it's
helped me with that.
And painting, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah, painting too. Yeah, God made room.
But absolutely, those sort of things, it takes intention, it takes action, but it all starts with you, right? I want to say this also. You mentioned about the opinions and the noise and things like that. I had a conversation with my mother because oftentimes people project what they have experienced. We had a conversation about the Bible in regards to various scriptures and what it was, you know, how it was interpreted. And I read something and I said, I didn't get that from the scripture. She said, well, no, that's what it was. But again, I said, well, and instead of arguing with things, going back to your point, it's God is not the author of confusion. You go back to, and I said, well, Mama, go ahead and read it again, and then come back and we'll talk about it. But again, she was taught something, so she taught me that.
Right.
So it's not, and I said, I don't blame you. You know, it's about the person interpreting the message or interpreting the reading. And they can only teach what they were taught. So it's important for us to learn
and discern. Because I share that with you. Now, my grandmother, rest in peace, she was Pentecostal, apostolic, which is almost the same. She was apostolic. And they kind of had almost like a cultish kind of religion, right? They didn't listen to secular music. They didn't watch TV. The women didn't wear pants because they couldn't wear anything pertaining to a man.
Yeah.
It was a lot of different rules and stuff. And my grandmother was the type of grandmother where we had to read our Bibles, like really read it. And we had to learn scripture. And I'm not talking about like a 30-second verse. We had to know the chapter. Like, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the same beginning with God. All things were made by Him. And I still know those scriptures by heart because she was just that
ingrained in you.
So then I started reading, you know how you have the King James, the NIV, the Holy Bible, the Amplified Version, and I'm a writer as well. So we know that if you want to change the meaning of any type of sentence, you move where and but is. So I would read a scripture in the Amplified Version, and it read different than it did in a Holy Version. You know what I'm saying? So that's where that God sense come in for you to be able to say, okay, God, what is this message? How do you want this to land for me today?
Self.
You know,
that's what I hear. Self.
You have to understand it, even though they say lean not to your own understanding,
but in all your ways.
Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so you still have to ask God to help you understand.
That's right.
So that you're not confused. Because I started getting confused, and then I started looking into other religions and other belief systems. And one thing that I have found to be a constant is that there is a God.
That part.
Whether they call it, whoever they praying to, it's still a God.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that is one thing that I try to understand, that God made us in His likeness, and He wants us to live a fruitful life.
Absolutely.
He wants us to live a peaceful life.
Yes.
But in order for us to reach into our God-like power,
yeah,
we have to change our mindset.
Yeah.
We have to have healthy boundaries.
We
have to know our priorities.
Yes.
We have to be a goal setter.
Yeah.
We have to surround ourselves with positive peers.
Yes.
It's certain things that we have to do in order to grow.
Yes.
So have you ever had a season where you planted more seeds than you can afford to water?
Absolutely. So again, I mentioned that this is my 50th year. So this is an intentional year for me. Prior to, I had been investing in other people, showing up for other people. I'm all about, supporting my community, my, Black entrepreneurs. I'm always about that. So, I want to reap so that I can sow as well. And I started getting a little discouraged, right, when people weren't showing up for me. So, I said, you know what? it's my time.
It is.
It's my time to big up Cherie, big up, everything that I'm doing. God, I hear you. So instead of me trying to always show up for other people, I said, you know what, let me put that energy back in me. Let me go forward. So absolutely, I had several seasons of it. And, now I'm very intentional about everything that I do. I don't go anywhere that I don't want to. I don't do anything that I want to. I don't provide any explanation to anybody for my no. No, I'm not going to do it. With a smile.
I was just telling my mother about this yesterday. And I was like, Mom, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I want to be there for everybody. I'm the person, I go check on my mom, I go check on my dad. My kids are 28, 25, and 20, but they never really grow up. I love spending time with my 8-year-old grandson.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because he just thinks Gigi is the coolest granny ever. You know what I'm saying? I love it, I love it. But I also work a 40-hour work week. I also, have other businesses that I do. So sometimes I don't have time for that.
Right.
Sometimes I barely have time for me.
Yeah.
So what I do is I schedule vacations. Everybody know I travel. You know what I'm saying? I go to another country for 4-5 days. Unplug, reset, recharge, and come back so I can be the best version of myself. But sometimes in my need to want to be there for everybody else, I would neglect myself. And then my mental health wasn't there. I couldn't show up as the best version of myself because I'm too tired.
You poured too many cups.
Too many cups. So my no has been my no. And now, I like, even now, and I feel bad for Mother's Day. I did not go see my mom this year. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that I didn't want to see my mom. I wasn't feeling well on Mother's Day. And it was still Mother's Day for me too. You know what I'm saying? And to me, Mother's Day is every day. I don't need a holiday to go love on my mama. I love on her every week. She gonna see me. Okay? She gonna see her rose. I'm her only daughter. So I'm a mama's and a daddy's girl. I'll take care. They my kids now.
But it's funny because sometimes we put that pressure on ourselves too. So that's why I always tell people about, for my coaching program, we have to be honest with self. So again, I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep pressing on the self tab, because it's all about us. Sometimes we have, gotten so accustomed to being the support of others to where if we don't support, or it's feeling like, dang, I ain't did nothing today, or I haven't been there for that person, but you put yourself in that situation. So now that you want to reset the pendulum, if you will, you have to give it back to yourself. So being that focal point or that support for other people, it's empowering. If we was honest, right? It makes us feel good. Like, oh, I'm so needed, And what happens when we're not needed? It's like, oh man, they don't love me no more. But we put ourselves in that situation.
But
so now
it's unhealthy.
That's my point. It's very unhealthy. But because we become that shoulder for everybody, when we're not there, it's like, oh, what do I do? What did I say earlier? You have to know who you are and what you are, but it takes time. So you can't be so much to one thing or to many people because you forget yourself. So I love the fact that this is made, and that now in today's time, in today's culture, we're talking about mental health, because it's very important. It's about boundaries, and healthy boundaries, right? We have to set those healthy boundaries, and that means we got to be honest, real, and raw with ourselves. Like, okay, Cherie, you didn't put too much time over there. You done invested too much money, or you can't be everything to everybody.
And then you have to understand that if you're dealing with this uncomfortable feeling in different scenarios, you're the common denominator.
That's right.
You are the common denominator.
Right.
People can only do what you allow them to do.
That's right.
And if you don't know how to stand up for yourself, that is not a them problem, that is a you problem. Because I could sit here and tell you about all the failed relationships I had and what they did wrong and how they could have done better.
But what was the common?
Me. I allowed that to happen to me. I didn't love myself enough to know better. I didn't have any boundaries.
Right.
I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be needed. And sometimes our I'm Onney the CEO or whatever, and I have all these businesses, but I realized that also was a trauma response.
Yes.
From losing it all, or from being abandoned, or from being a teen mom and nobody coming to save me. Those lessons made me fearful of being dependent on anybody else. So I became an overgiver. To where I was easy to be manipulated and used, because I'm getting some type of gratification or validation out of your need for me.
Yes.
Realizing that I'm pouring, but you're not really pouring back.
That part, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But self-awareness is also important. So once you know better, what they say, you do better, right? So I tell another person that I coach that self-forgiveness, what did I say earlier? I'm going to talk about self this whole time.
Yeah.
Self-love, self-forgiveness, self-awareness is so important, because once you know, you got to change it. Because if you accept what it is, right? So you can't continuously say, oh, woe is me, and then don't change me. So either you like it or you don't. You know what I'm saying?
And that even goes with relationships, because some people are married and they're past the threshold of we could just break up.
Yeah.
And they have to find a way that
self-sabotage,
especially if it's not a deal breaker. You know, you can have some people who have bad habits. It's not a deal breaker. It don't make them a bad person. But if you want to be happy in this relationship, you got to learn how to have radical acceptance about what that situation is, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So once you decide that that's something that you're going to put up with, you're no longer a victim, you're an active participant.
Absolutely. Self-awareness. Yeah, once you know what it is, what you going to do about it? People tell me, oh, I'm stuck under okay. So I'm a problem solver by nature. So you can tell me, like, you can tell me 10 problems right now. I'll be like, okay, so what we doing? Yeah. Like, how are we fixing it? Like, because I don't revel in that. Right. Because to every problem, it is a solution. That's kind of how I look at life. You mentioned earlier being a teen mom. I was pregnant at 14, had my daughter at 15. Not one time in that, and this is how I know God created me for a greater purpose. Not one time in that I said, oh Lord, I'm gonna stop going to school. It never, people ask me, well, how did this happen? What happened? I was actually trying to graduate early.
I actually did graduate early. My mom was so hurt because I went to day school, summer school, night school.
I was like, I
was in advanced classes. I was in a marching band. I was in ROTC.
Yes.
I was scheduled to graduate at 16, and I ended up pregnant at 15 and had my baby at 16. And the projection that was put on me is, oh, your life is over.
That's it.
You're finna be a statistic. You're gonna keep this baby, and now your life is ruined. And actually, I think having my son at 16 saved me.
Yeah.
It gave me a reason to go hard. You know, it gave me purpose. And I didn't want to do nothing strange for a piece of change.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't trying to shame nobody, but dancing wasn't gonna be my, wasn't gonna be my lane. Stripping, prostitution.
Yeah.
Nah, I had to realize that my most attractive asset that I had was above my shoulders.
That's right.
And so I got Microsoft certified, and I went back to school, and a lot of stuff had to do with a baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if I didn't have him, would I have been as motivated then? You understand what I'm saying?
They always tell my brother and I, because I mentioned we grew up in Fifth Ward, and at that time, all we saw were prostitutes and pimps. I think maybe still now on this side of town you may see it, but that was our life.
Especially on
yeah, that was our life. Like, we saw that. So in many of our friends that we grew up with in elementary either are dead or, strung out on drugs and things like that. So my brother and I often talk about, dang, we could have easily been a statistic. And sometimes you'd be like, God, why me? But again, God had a greater purpose. Some things that we didn't understand then, now at this age and stage of my life, I say, well, thank you, Lord, because I know that you have a plan for me, right? So with that being said, I'm like, I step back and I acknowledge everything. I'm like, I hear you. I see you. I see what you did. So, I can tell a teen mom, don't you worry about, just have some drive, have some purpose, and you're going to make it.
And you can be an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
you can do anything you set your mind to.
What you see, you can be. I say it all the time, and I believe it. I tell people I walk it like I talk. I ain't telling you something I heard. I'm telling you what I went through as a mom, going to school and taking my daughter to school with me in high school. I was a track star.
Me too. I took my baby to school with me. They had a daycare behind high school.
I was like, you know what? It was never any doubt as to what was going to happen. I wasn't going to be that statistic. To your point, the people in the church was like, oh Lord, let's pray for her, and I'm glad they did. Thank you, Lord. More spirit was deposited in my body, so it gave me more drive to be. So I wanted to be the example. I am the example now. I talk to my nieces, nephews, different things. Had I not endured that journey or gone through those things, I wouldn't be able to tell them about that.
They build character. And,
it absolutely
and through your
does.
experience, you're able to help
Absolutely.
other people come into themselves
Yeah.
and become more self-aware
Yeah.
and goal-driven as well. So I really appreciate you for
thank
just
you.
creating your platform.
Yes.
And I am looking forward to seeing where it's going to go and where it's going to grow. And if I could do anything in the process to help you with that, girl,
Absolutely.
I am now officially a part of your sister circle, okay?
I love it. I love it.
Definitely. And I enjoy being able to have
Thank
this
you.
conversation with
Yes.
you. So for those that are listening and watching and they want to stay up to date with you,
Yes.
tell us where we can find you. What's your Instagram page?
All things CherieCooperFranks.com, and that is SHREE CooperFranks.com. You can find me on all platforms. www.CherieCooperFranks. Matter of fact, I have a conference coming up June the 29th here in Houston, Texas, and I want to see all of your listeners. I want everybody to tap in because, again, as I say, what you see, you can be. So therefore, I want you guys to come out, support. It's going to be fire. It's going to be fire. I have some major keynote. I'll be the keynote speaker, but I have some major speakers coming, and I want the city of Houston to show up and show out. Come out and check it out. It's going to be a blast. So all things CherieCooperFranks.com.
All right, you guys, we did bring up the website. You guys make sure you go check out her website, CherieCooperFranks.com.
Yes.
And I want to remind our listeners and viewers that we are on multiple platforms. You can find us everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can even find us on Third Coast TV. So find a platform that works for you so you can be plugged in, tuned in, tapped in. And if you like what you hear, you like what you see, come and join the Outside the Box family. Come on over to our YouTube page, Outside the Box with Onney. That's spelled with Onney. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that bell notification so you can be notified when we drop a new segment. And if you want to be on the couch with me and have me all in your business, or if you have something that you would love to promote, we are casting for Outside the Box with Onney. Make sure you send your press kit to otb.liveshow@gmail.com, and one of our casting directors will reach back out to you. Now, if you are dreaming to be your own podcaster and you want to be able to have your own guests on your own show, come on over to www.onneystudios.com. Let's bring that vision into fruition, and you yourself can become a podcast content creator today. So reach back out to us, and we'll reach back out to you, and we'll make it happen. Stop sleeping on yourself. I'm going to hold you accountable. Log on today. So I want to come back to you and say thank you, thank you.
You are so welcome.
Before I let you go, I just want to ask you, for women, because you know this is really a conversation for us women to come together, that may be going through a season of self-doubt, what would you tell them?
I absolutely would tell them to first, let's pause, right? Pause and take a moment of meditation, take a moment of prayer, and really ask the Most High, where is it that he or she, whomever you serve, wants you to go, right? Where is it that you're trying to go? And then once you hear that voice, go ahead and move forward. It's no time better than right now. Again, I told Onney earlier, let's quit soaring on the bottom. Eagles don't soar at the bottom. They rise above. So now it's the time for you to rise above and tap back into you. Go into that self-love, that self-awareness, and that self-discovery. So today is the day that I want you to take to look into yourself and be that person that God created you to be. It's time now to do it. So let's make it happen. Tap in.
I love it. I love it. I love it, girl. So there you guys have it. I hope that this segment has inspired you, have motivated you, have given you a moment of reflection so that you can go back and kind of rediscover yourself, realign, reset, refocus, just get back to you.
Yes.
So that you can continue to show up as the best version of you for everyone else. You can't be your best if everyone else is using all of your gifts, all your time, and all your talents. So be sure to pour into you. And on that note, we're going to see you next week. I'm your host, Onney the CEO. You're now plugged in, tuned in, tapped in with Outside the Box.
Yeah.